Back in 1995, by the river in Chengdu, late at night students watched in shock as cops panicked and fled from them. An archaeology team dug up 3 ancient Qing Dynasty corpses, and they vanished without a trace that same night. The truth behind the soul-locking formation. Even Taoist masters feared it. Officials said it was just rabies. But fire flamethrowers couldn't burn away the mystery. 3 versions, which one do you believe? Hey everyone, I'm Lan. Welcome back to Lanlanwonglanlanwong of Scary Channel. You ever heard about what went down in 1995? Back then, almost every school told students to go home right after class. Parents had to pick their kids up, and even going to the bathroom needed a teacher's escort. This incident has a bunch of versions, but these 3 are the most well-known. Let's start with the first one, spread all over the streets. So, one day, the Chengdu archaeology team dug up 3 Qing Dynasty corpses near Wuhu Temple. But that night, poof, they were gone. A few days later, 5 zombies popped up in Chengdu, and 3 of them were those missing ancient corpses. They had sharp fangs, and they'd bite anyone they saw. Some people died right away. Others, after writhing in pain, turned into zombies too. Lots of people claimed to be witnesses. One guy said, back in 1995, when he was in junior high, he was curious about Chinese zombies, so he and his friends snuck out to North Gate Bridge, where people said zombies hung out. They thought it'd be a joke, just something to check out, but around midnight, they heard rustling sounds coming from the riverbank. It was dark, and trees were blocking their view. They couldn't see a thing, but the noise got closer and closer, and it started to sound like heavy, ragged breathing. One brave friend suggested they go check it out, but a few others were too scared to go. While they were arguing, suddenly a couple of cops showed up. They asked why the kids were there, then warned, "This place isn't safe, go home now." The brave friend didn't give up. He told the cops about the weird sounds and movements, said it might be zombies. You know what's crazy? The cops didn't yell at him for talking nonsense. Instead, their faces went pale with fear. They tensed up right away and stared at the direction the kid pointed. Then boom, a monster with a green face, sharp fangs, and flailing claws jumped out of the bush. The kids ran for their lives. When they got far enough, they saw tons of cops and police cars swarming the area. The next day, their school canceled night study. Everyone had to go home and stay there. Later, word got around. The government used flamethrowers to burn the Chinese zombies down. Now, the second version straight from the officials. As usual, they said yes, there were people biting others, but it wasn't zombies. See, there was this family surnamed Lin. They had a dog that got rabies. When the dog went crazy, it killed their pig. The dad thought it'd be a waste, so he cooked the dead pig and ate it with his family. That night, the whole family got sick, high fevers, red skin, and they'd bite anyone they saw. Neighbors tried to take them to the hospital, but on the way, the Lin family flipped out and bit people on the street, the people who got bit. They started getting sick too soon. It spread like wildfire. And those dead bodies people talked about, that's how they happened. Scientifically, it makes sense, but some people still doubted it. Why? Because rabies doesn't kick in right away. Plus, rabies patients are afraid of wind and water. Even hearing running water or thinking about drinking can make their throat muscles spasm violently. But the officials said the sick people were found near rivers or outdoors. If someone was that sick, they'd be gasping for air, even choking. How could they have the strength to bite people? Now, the big question, where did the Chinese zombies come from? Did they form naturally? Or are they tied to ancient Chinese magic? There's a third version floating around too. Between 1994 and 1995, the Chengdu Cultural Relics team was doing a ton of surveys and digs along the Funan River. They were helping with the river's renovation project. They found lots of Tang and Qing Dynasty artifacts, even old city ruins. Near the southern part, they found a waterway about 7 to 8 meters long. On both sides were wells, and in the middle, a weird square well. Its four corners had carvings of the sun god bird, but here's the thing, usually the bird's head faces outward, not inward and downward. Why would the sun god bird from the bronze tree be on a strange stone well? The team wanted to dig into the well to see what was inside, but a colleague who knew feng shui and metaphysics stopped them. Let's call him Mr. Zhang. His family had been doing feng shui work for generations, so he knew a thing or two about qigong spells and formations. More importantly,
he knew stuff regular people didn't. He was the security chief for the team. When he looked at the well from afar, he knew something was wrong. To regular folks, it was just a well.
But to someone who dealt with metaphysics, he could tell it was a formation. The sun god bird carvings matched a formation he'd seen before, but he couldn't figure out what kind of formation it was. All he knew, they couldn't dig it up casually. It'd bring death. Mr. Zhang had a rough idea of which school the formation came from, but he didn't have as much hands-on experience as other family members. Plus, whoever set up the formation was no ordinary Taoist master. So he asked a family member who was good at spells, let's call him the master, for help. The master didn't want to go at first, but Mr. Zhang begged him. Out of loyalty, the master agreed to check it out. When they got to the well, the master immediately recognized it, a soul-locking formation. The project was on a tight schedule, so the higher-ups told the team to fix the problem fast and get back to work. After Mr. Zhang and the master checked it out, they agreed the soul-locking formation was risky, but it wasn't a curse, it was just a regular formation. They decided the master would set up a protective formation nearby before breaking the soul-locking one just to lower the risk. And let's be real, even if the risk was high, the construction team would have dug it up anyway. So this was their only option. The archaeologists got back to work. They opened the well and started digging. About 10 meters down, they found 3 plain wooden coffins. When they opened them, inside were 3 corpses, but they were mummies, not rotting. And they gave off a weird smell, not the usual rotting flesh stench. Contrary to what people said online, the corpses weren't wearing Qing Dynasty clothes. They were dressed in Republic of China-era outfits, all cotton canvas work clothes. The team thought the clothes and corpses would oxidize right away when they opened the coffins, but after a minute, nothing rotted. They stayed the same. Suddenly, someone said, "Wow, these corpses are really well preserved." The master snapped at him to shut up. According to tradition, you can't talk nonsense in front of corpses, especially not corpses locked up by a formation. Right then, the 3 corpses started to change. Their skin was absorbing moisture from the air slowly. It got soft and moist. The archaeologists gasped, some ran, others grabbed tools to defend themselves. The master walked slowly toward the corpses. That's when he noticed something. Their faces looked almost identical. You'd swear they were the same person. To be safe, he took red strings and talismans, tied up the 3 corpses, and started chanting spells. While he was chanting, he suddenly heard a voice. "Quick, separate us!" It was the soul of one of the corpses. The master was a spellcaster. He'd been able to see ghosts and souls since he was a kid. So he wasn't surprised. In fact, he'd expected it. The master looked at the soul and asked, "Why do you need to be separated? Are you sick?" The soul said, "It's not sickness. We might catch fire. The people who put us in this well-poured chemicals on our bodies, when we get enough air, we could burst into flames." The master asked again, "Why are you in this well?" The soul answered, "It was 1960. My wife had just gotten pregnant. I wanted to give my family a better life, so I went to work in another province. One day, on my way home, I suddenly felt dizzy. Next thing I knew, everything went black. When I woke up, I was tied to an operating chair naked. My arms and legs were covered in cuts, big and small, and those cuts? They were crawling with slimy, greasy little snakes. But here's the weird part. I didn't feel any pain. I tried to scream for help, but no sound came out. Then someone in a doctor's coat walked over. They had tools in their hands and they cut open my chest. I felt dizzy again, and I passed out fast. When I woke up, I was on another operating chair, and on the chair next to me, my own body covered in blood. That's why the three corpses looked so similar, and why they smelled weird. It was probably a human cloning experiment. The smell? From the chemicals. The soul kept talking. I didn't know what kind of experiment they were doing on us. All I knew was it hurt like hell. But I pretended to cooperate, hoped I could escape. One night, they had a breakthrough. They were drinking to celebrate. I ran. I just wanted to go home and see my kid, but they caught me. After that, no more chances to escape. The experiment failed. By then, the master understood everything. The lab people buried the test subjects in the well to cover it up. And it wasn't just cloning, they might have been doing evil magic experiments too, like soul-reviving spells or curses. Why else would they use a soul-locking formation on failed test subjects? To keep people away. The master didn't just worry about the corpses catching fire. He feared they'd turn into zombies. In the end, to keep people safe, the master and the archaeologist decided to cremate the three corpses that night. They'd take them to an empty, remote place. The trip went smoothly until they got there. When the master opened the coffins to do the cremation ritual, the soul suddenly begged him, "Let me see my family one last time before I go." The master felt for him, but he couldn't delay the cremation or the ritual, not with all the risks. So he said no. Maybe the soul had been hit with a soul-reviving spell before, even though it failed, some magic was still left. When the master refused, the soul tried to go back into its body and escape the coffin. But the body had been in the coffin too long. Even if it could move for a little bit, it wasn't flexible like a normal person. It was stiff like a zombie, only able to hop to move. The master felt sorry for the soul, but he knew the dead can't come back. If he let the soul go, it'd cause a bigger disaster. So he used a spell to trap the soul, then went ahead with the cremation. Those are the three most famous versions. Which one do you believe more? Leave a comment and tell me. We're almost out of time for today. If you like our channel, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to support us. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Alright, see you next time.
Bye.